Resident Evil 2 Remake in 2019, Resident Evil 3 Remake in 2020. I'm just gonna spill the beans. Resident Evil 4 Remake in 2022. It's happening. The biggest game in the franchise is getting redone in the fancy schmancy style that we've seen the last 2 years. Is that a good thing? Is it a dangerous tightrope? And why are they taking a year off? What's going on, everybody? It's GhostRobo. This rebooted, remade, redone, redolled, whatever you want to call it, franchise has been very successful for Capcom. And I call it a franchise because it's quickly becoming its own beast. This wasn't just a one-off, hey, let's try to remake Resident Evil 2 and bring it back in modern graphics and with modern gameplay. It's now becoming its own separate Resident Evil franchise where they are retreading the past in order to bring these games into future success, and success they have found. Resident Evil 3, not as good as 2 Remake, probably won't be as big of a seller, but still very successful for Capcom, and overall still fun. It's a short time, but still a fun time. The graphics are beautiful, the gameplay adjustments are fun. I'm not as big a fan as 3 as I am of 2. I really love 2, I like 3, but people adore 4. It is the big fish in the Resident Evil bloody T-virus waters. Would they remake it? Should they remake it? That's been a question for a while, and we thought maybe they would wait, because Resident Evil 4 is more modern, it's been HDified, it's on Switch, it's all over the place, you can play it, and it plays pretty good. So, would they want to mess with that? And there is a risk because it is so darn beloved. I feel like a lot of players do like 2 and 3, but plenty of people who love 4 or who have played the recent entries don't really know 2 or 3. And these feel so different because of the way that they have been remade that it's not as dangerous. 4 is going to be scrutinized so much more. What are they doing different? How have they changed? Are they keeping it the same, just making the graphics better and the controls tighter? Let's talk exactly about what's going on here. So, if you guys are excited for Resident Evil 4 Remake, let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you are pumped, or if you're just impressed that they're doing this. Capcom is working on a Resident Evil 4 remake. This comes from Andy Robinson over at VGC, that's Video Games Chronicle. They've been breaking big stories. The Mario 35th celebration with all of the HD remasters of 64 Sunshine Galaxy. They've got a lot going on this website, and now they're talking about Resident Evil 4 being remade in 2022. Now, they say that the original creator, Shinji Mikami, was asked to head up the project, and he said no. But he has given the blessing to Capcom and the new Osaka M2 studio and former Platinum Games head Tetsuya Minami to run this. Now, those two were supposed to work this studio together. That's why it's M2. It's supposed to be Minami and Mikami, and that didn't work out. So we were about to get like an incredible partnership and the original creator making the game, and unfortunately, he said no. But the studio has been operating since 2018. They say it's comprised of many former Capcom Platinum employees. They say people who worked on RE4 are still at Capcom, but it sounds like a newcomer is helming this Resident Evil 4 remake project. How much do you change? How much do you adjust? Where is the fine balance between paying tribute to a game that was so influential and so beloved, and also delivering something new since you're going to charge $60 for it? Do we just want another better graphics version? But we have that in the HD port. So I feel like this is going to be such a tightrope. It's dangerous. I'm sure that's one of the reasons Mikami said, like, nope, I'm not interested in risking it for this potential juicy biscuit, because if they do it awesome, 4 could be the best one. It could be the best game, the best seller. It's Capcom's highest rated game of all time. It sold over 7 million copies. This is a big deal. Mikami is also working with Bethesda's Ghostwire game, so that's another reason he didn't want to do this, but I bet it's daunting to say, hey, go back and your gem, make it magical again, make it shiny again. Don't do too much, but do enough. That's a fine line to walk. It's going to be saved for 2022, which I think is a smart choice. 3 years in a row of 2, 3, 4 seems like a lot, and I could feel people getting burned out already playing 3. Like, Nemesis is cool, Jill looks amazing, the game still is fun and controls well. 3 isn't as good of a game as 2, so that plays a part, but I think people would get annoyed if it was 3 straight years, 3 straight remakes. We're seeing a lot of the same stuff, and Resident Evil isn't progressing, it's just revisiting. That's why they're waiting until 2022. Why are we not getting Resident Evil 4 Remake in 2021? Well, let's talk about Resident Evil Village, which is the supposed title for Resident Evil 8. Now, this comes from Rely on Horror. I don't know how much I rely on them, but there has been enough scuttlebutt about Resident Evil 8, and it's been discussed a lot. Now, they're saying that their source is not Dust Golem, but I've seen Dust Golem, who is reliable, say a lot about Resident Evil 8, similar stuff. And apparently they've been conducting demos and tests on this stuff, and people are loving it. Because Resident Evil 8 actually started as Resident Evil 3 Revelations, or Resident Evil Revelations 3, and now it has moved on to become Resident Evil 8, because that game was so strong, and the start for Resident Evil 8 was not going good at all. So they fused the projects together, and now we have a new title that's coming in 2021, a cross-gen title. So this is going to be a PS5, Xbox Series X Resident Evil game 8. It's first person again. I know some people hated it. I love 7. 7 spooked me so much. I think it's a very different vibe than like when you go back and play 2 and 3, obviously, or 4. But I really like and respect what they did with 7. The roaming bosses, the escape room style stuff, the fear factor of first person. I mean, you could play it in VR. That was too much for me. They're saying that Ethan is once again the lead protagonist, but hardened to a degree. And they say that the game is in a snowy European era. And it's going to really rock fans' worlds because it has supernatural, it has werewolves, it has witches, but they claim it's from hallucinations, not that they're actually delving into the supernatural in Resident Evil. Don't worry, these are hallucinations. It's going to seem like they are taking the lore in a completely crazy direction, but apparently it's not that bad. They say wolf-like creatures are akin to beastmen. They attack you with massive claws. Escape sequence in the demo where you don't have a weapon. You have to just book it. Sometimes you do have a weapon. So the game is still in flux of how much it's going to be, you know, in the specific scenes, how much it's going to be like games of the past or progressed future. I think the balance between puzzle, action, fear, horror, hiding, and being able to put lead inside of these horrific creations is going to be a tough one. And I think that 7, you know, the first half of 7 was one way, the second half of 7 was another way. Where do they go with 8? I am a little concerned, but they do say that it's inspired by Resident Evil 4 and the much beloved 3.5, which was a series of demos and trailers for like the eventual 4 that did not come to fruition, but people really liked it. And they're saying that this game is fantastic. And they're balancing, like, are they going to use the Resident Evil 4 Tetris-style inventory? Are they going to use a more Resident Evil 7 inventory? That stuff is in flux. But it sounds like the game is going to be much more like 7 and continue that concept. So if you didn't like that, bummer. If you did like that like me, awesome. I appreciate, though, that they're willing to take a year to go back to something new and to push the franchise forward and then like right back at you with 4, right? So if people don't like 8, they've got 4. If people don't like remakes, they've got 8. And I like the idea of calling it Resident Evil Village and throwing the 8 in there. I mean, I know they're goofy. They always are, right, with Resident Evil, but I think that's kind of a fun way to do it. A few other things that they've got going on in here. Apparently, Chris Redfield is in the intro, and it's shocking. They say that there's a creepy witch that follows you around, and she's kind of controlling the Wolfmen, and she can like disintegrate into bugs. There's a giant gorilla-like monster man with chains and a staff. You're escaping to a castle. There's a village. Obviously, the snow in Europe. It sounds cool. Mia's supposedly back. I'm very, very excited for this, especially if it gets revealed this year, especially if it comes cross-gen, especially if it's something that can really, really be a great boost of a title for next-gen, because next-gen seems like it's going to have a slow start given all of the pandemic-related delays. Are games going to be ready? Are they not? If this is targeting Q1 2021 as a cross-gen, I'm all about it. And I think it makes a lot of sense to take that year break. I like that 8 is inspired by 4, and then we're going to get 4 again. I think that's a super smart way to do things, because remakes are great, but gaming is also about pushing things forward. And we've had stretches where we get stuck in these remake loops, where a remake does good, and then another remake, and then another remake, and at some point it's like, yes, this is fun, but as a hardcore gaming fan who's loved this industry to death for decades now, do we really want to just be a retread industry, or do we want to push forward? And so I like Capcom's balance and commitment to let's move forward with progressive installments every few years, and then let's touch back on our nostalgic past and our fantastic history with these remakes. I think they're handling it super well, and I hope they continue to do so. If 8 is a success, if 4 is a remake success, then they are, to me, the king of the castle, the cream of the crop when it comes to handling the preservation and the resurrection of their past titles. A lot of companies have tried, and some have done really well. I think Activision did fantastic with the Spyro Reignited and Crash Insane. Some aren't as successful, and we see the Switch being a hub for games coming back. Many of them aren't remakes, many of them are just better ports or things that have HD rumble. I love new stuff, and it's hard to make new stuff. Look, like Last of Us 2 is going through so many delays, Cyberpunk has taken forever. Big new stuff takes a lot of money, a lot of time, and big teams. It makes sense that companies and publishers would want to cash in on their past catalog, but you gotta do it right. And after 3, I was a little worried because I said, do we really need all of this all the time so rapidly? But I like their plan. I like that they're gonna do a new and an old, and I think it's dangerous to do 4. I think it's bold and ballsy, but even if 3 isn't my favorite, there is enough enough polish and prowess shown in both 2 and 3 remake that I have faith they can do 4 right. And I think it's going to be super important when we go to next gen that we get a lot of forward-looking games. I mean, Microsoft is saying all of their games are going to work backwards, which scares me because how far can you push tech? How far can you push ideas and creativity if you're limited to an Xbox One from 2013? While Sony's taking a more forward-thinking route, they say the future is what's important. The DualSense is showing that being a controller that is exclusive to next gen and has very next gen features. Will they push forward with Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and Spider-Man 2 and God of War 2 and really emphasize how far, if we put the pedal to the metal, these systems can push things? Now, Resident Evil 8 is going to be a cross-gen title, so it's going to toe that line, but I think we're at a very important juncture in gaming right now. We're about to enter a new generation. We've got a real love for remakes and a proven track record of success for remakes. We've got cross-gen titles incoming where it's going to be like, oh, Watch Dogs 3 is on both. Oh, Assassin's Creed is on both. And that's fine and dandy, but it's dangerous, especially when with Xbox, cross-gen just means the game, right? Cross-gen just means the game. It doesn't mean cross-gen, it means the game, because they are making all of their games cross-gen and cross-platform, which is fine and fun and opens the developers up to far more of an audience for better sales, but it's not moving the medium as far forward as, say, a dedicated next-gen title. So what happens in the next 6 months? I mean, we've got delays like we've never seen. That's going to be a big deal. We had delays even before the pandemic. Look at games like Avengers that got pushed back, Cyberpunk that got pushed back, even Final Fantasy saw a small delay. Now we're going to see a lot of delays. Will Ghost of Tsushima even hit PS4? Is that going to be moved to PS5? When does Last of Us Part 2 release? Will Halo Infinite be able to hit launch for Xbox? I sure hope so. Interesting times ahead, and what they do with this next gen and how they convince you to spend your $500-600 by delivering either games that just look better and run better, or games that truly can only be played on those bigger, better boxes, or in Xbox's case, taller boxes. We've yet to see the PS5. Maybe it's super tall. Maybe it's like a giraffe of a system. But how do you get me to spend $500? You don't just say the resolution is better, the frame rate is better, and we've got, good HDR lighting, ray tracing. You say this game is not possible on a past system. So as Resident Evil looks forward, looks to balance the past, looks to remake the past, looks to cross-gen it up, as all of these companies and developers and publishers really try to navigate this space, gamers will decide what is successful. Will remakes continue to soar, or will we get tired out? Will cross-gen be a smart idea, and looking back to the entire Xbox lineup as something that can play all the games be a brilliant move, or will it be one that ends up hurting them long-term as Sony probably focuses more on gunning straight ahead and pushing what their box can do? Will a less powerful PS5 actually seem more powerful because the games are tailor-made for it? We'll have to wait and see. I'm pumped for Resident Evil 8. I'm pumped for 4 Remake. I hope they can do it right. I wish Mikami was on it, but at least it got his blessing. Let me know what you think. Which one are you more excited for? 8 Village and it being something new, but first-person, Ethan, kind of that style that, rocked the boat of the franchise, or 4 Remake that could sully a star title from gaming's entire history, or could bring back one of the best horror experiences of all time and set the new bar for Resident Evil. Let me know your take in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and are pumped for these new games. I'm excited for next gen. I cannot wait. We're getting closer and closer day by day. No E3, no hands-on, but those things are going to be in my house at some point in 2020. I firmly believe that, and I'll have all the coverage for you. Until that time, everybody, thanks again for watching. Stay safe and stay healthy out there. I love you a lot. Until next time, drink some hot chocolate. We will see you all later.